There's a town in America where the government evacuated everyone in 1974 and never explained why. Roads were sealed, homes abandoned, and today, locals still call it Helltown. We think of America as white picket fences and 4th of July parades. But there's another side to the map. Towns where the ground burns for decades, where entire populations vanish, where one woman runs a complete city government because she's the only resident left. These aren't Halloween attractions. These are real places with documented histories, government records, and residents who lived through events most of us can't imagine. Today, we're exploring 10 towns that tell stories America doesn't put on postcards. Stories of economic collapse, environmental disasters, and mysteries that remain unsolved. You're about to discover places where fire has burned underground since 1962, where 24 people disappeared without explanation, and where an entire town lives inside a single 14-story building. If you're planning a road trip across America, you'll want to know these names. Hit subscribe, because by the end of this video, then you'll understand why some zip codes don't appear on maps anymore. Let's begin. Number 10, Moonville, Ohio, the tunnel where time forgot. Deep in southeastern Ohio's Zaleski State Forest, there's a railroad tunnel where no trains have run since 1988, but visitors still report seeing a lantern swinging in the darkness, carried by someone who died over a century ago. Moonville was founded in the 1850s as a coal mining settlement along the Marietta and Cincinnati Railroad. At its peak, the town supported about 100 residents. The tunnel, built in 1856, served as the main passage through the Raccoon Creek Valley. Between 1859 and 1986, at least 5 people died in or near this tunnel, struck by trains in the darkness. The most documented case occurred in 1859 when a brakeman named Joseph Henderson was killed. Another death in 1880 involved an engineer whose identity was never confirmed. The town's population reached 0 in 1947. Today, there are no roads into Moonville. You must hike approximately 2 miles through dense forest. What you'll find: a stone railroad tunnel, 120 feet long, foundations of 15 to 20 homes, barely visible through vegetation. A small cemetery with weathered headstones. Complete silence, broken only by wind through trees. Paranormal investigation groups have recorded unusual electromagnetic readings inside the tunnel. Multiple visitors report the same phenomena: a light source moving through the tunnel that disappears when approached. Cold spots despite warm weather, and the sound of footsteps on gravel where there is no gravel. One investigation team from Ohio University documented their experience in 2019. We recorded audio of what sounds like a voice calling "watch out," followed by a metallic scraping sound. There were 4 of us present. None of us spoke during the recording. Moonville isn't accessible by GPS. Cell service is non-existent within 3 miles of the site. The nearest town, Zaleski, has 300 residents and limited services. If you visit, inform someone of your plans and expected return time. The tunnel is structurally sound but surrounded by rough terrain. Copperhead snakes are common in warmer months. The hike is rated moderate difficulty. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, Moonville represents something profound, a community that existed, thrived, and vanished, leaving only stone and stories behind. Picture this moment. You're standing at the tunnel entrance. The forest is absolutely silent. Your phone has no signal. You're looking into darkness so complete you can't see the other end. And then you remember 5 people died here, in this exact spot. The last train passed through 36 years ago, but something still makes people report the same light, the same sounds, decade after decade. Number 9, Picher, Oklahoma, poisoned promises. between 1914 and 1967, Picher. Oklahoma produced more lead and zinc than any other location in the world. The town helped win World War II by supplying over 50% of the lead used in ammunition. But the cost of that victory is still being paid today. At its peak in the 1920s, Picher's population reached 20,000. The mines ran 24 hours a day. Schools were built, churches opened, Main Street had movie theaters, restaurants, and shops. This was the American dream in action. The mining left behind three critical problems. First, the underground tunnel network created instability. The ground beneath Picher became Swiss cheese. Sinkholes opened randomly, swallowing streets and foundations. Second, the mines produced massive piles of waste material called chat. These chat piles contain lead, zinc, cadmium, and other heavy metals. Wind carries toxic dust across the town. Rain washes contamination into the water supply. Third, and most devastating, the children. In 1996, the EPA conducted comprehensive testing of Picher's children. 34% of children tested showed blood lead levels above the CDC's action level. Some children had levels high enough to cause permanent neurological damage. The chat piles covered 40 million cubic yards of contaminated material. Elevated levels of lead were found in soil samples from 86% of residential yards. Lead poisoning in children causes learning disabilities, behavioral problems, hearing loss, and developmental delays. These effects are permanent. In 2006, the U.S. government declared Picher uninhabitable and initiated a voluntary buyout program. Most residents accepted payment for their homes and relocated. The government spent over $100 million on the buyout. But some residents refused to leave. They'd lived in Picher their entire lives. Where would they go? On May 10, 2008, an EF4 tornado struck Picher directly. Wind speeds exceeded 200 miles per hour. The tornado killed 6 people and destroyed what remained of the business district. After the tornado, even the holdouts left. Picher still exists on maps, but visiting it feels like walking through a war zone decades after the battle ended. Crumbling buildings with collapsed roofs. Streets overtaken by vegetation. The massive chat piles. Still toxic. Still standing. Warning signs from the EPA. Absolute silence. Current population fewer than 10 people. Imagine this. You're standing on Main Street in 1945. The mines are running. You can hear the machinery. Men are heading to work. Children are walking to school. The future seems secure. Now imagine standing on that same street today. There are no sounds. The buildings are skeletal. Dust from the chat piles drifts past. And you realize this wasn't war or natural disaster. This was just the price of prosperity. Collected late. Number 8, Centralia, Pennsylvania, the town that burns forever. In May 1962, someone lit a fire in an abandoned coal mine outside Centralia, Pennsylvania. That fire is still burning today, 62 years later, and experts estimate it will continue burning for another 250 years. Centralia was founded in 1866 as a coal mining town. Like many Pennsylvania communities, it prospered from the anthracite coal beneath it. By 1962, Centralia had a population of about 100 residents. The trouble started with a routine cleanup. The town council ordered the burning of trash in an abandoned strip mine pit near the cemetery, a common practice at the time. But this particular pit had an exposed coal seam. The fire spread underground into the labyrinth of abandoned coal mines beneath Centralia. Attempts to extinguish it failed. The fire had access to millions of tons of coal and all the oxygen it needed. For years, residents noticed strange things. snow melting in patches over certain areas in winter, warm ground even in freezing temperatures, steam and smoke rising from cracks in the pavement, gardens growing better in some spots due to ground heat, an odd smell, like burning coal, throughout the town. In 1979, gas station owner John Coddington checked the temperature of the gasoline in his underground tanks. The thermometer read 172 degrees Fahrenheit. Gasoline vaporizes at those temperatures, creating explosion risk. But the crisis became undeniable in 1981. On Valentine's Day, 12-year-old Todd Domboski was walking in his grandmother's backyard when the ground suddenly opened beneath him. He fell into a sinkhole 4 feet wide and 150 feet deep, filled with toxic steam. Todd grabbed an exposed tree root and held on. His cousin ran for help. Todd was pulled out after several terrifying minutes. When rescuers measured the sinkhole, carbon monoxide levels were high enough to kill within minutes. In 1984, Congress allocated $42 million for relocation. The government offered to buy every home in Centralia at pre-fire market value. Most residents accepted and moved to nearby towns, but not everyone left. Some residents refused, claiming the fire wasn't as dangerous as reported. The government's response was extreme in 1992. They condemned all remaining buildings. In 2002, the U.S. Postal Service revoked Centralia's zip code. Current population approximately 5 residents, all living in homes they refuse to abandon. The fire currently covers about 400 acres underground and continues spreading at a rate of 50 to 75 feet per year. Picture this moment. You're walking down what used to be a residential street. The asphalt is cracked and buckled. Steam rises from a fissure near your feet. You can feel heat through your shoes. In the distance, one house stands, curtains in the windows, a car in the driveway. Someone lives there. Someone chose to stay, surrounded by an invisible fire that will outlive their great-great-grandchildren. Number 7, Dudleytown, Connecticut. It's the Valley of Whispers. There's a reason Dudleytown doesn't appear on your GPS, and it's not a technical error. Dudleytown is one of the few places in America where the property owners actively discourage all visitors, where trespassing laws are strictly enforced, and where the reputation for darkness isn't marketing, it's warning. Dudleytown was established in the mid-1740s by members of the Dudley family, who had emigrated from England. The village was located in a small valley in Cornwall and Connecticut, in the region now known as Dark Entry Forest. The settlement never thrived. The valley was isolated, the soil was poor, and the location received less sunlight than surrounding areas due to the steep hillsides. By the early 1800s, most residents had left for better land. What makes Dudleytown noteworthy isn't just abandonment. It's the pattern of events reported by residents and historians. In 1774, Adoniram Swain was killed when a tree fell on him. In 1792, General Heman Swift moved to Dudleytown after a distinguished military career. His wife died suddenly of unknown causes. He became increasingly erratic and was eventually declared mentally incompetent. In 1804, William Tanner and his family moved to Dudleytown. His wife died of consumption. His children died of the same disease. Tanner himself was found dead in his home in 1813. In 1892, a New York businessman named John Brophy purchased land in Dudleytown as a summer retreat. His wife, while staying there alone, reported being attacked by creatures in the woods. She was found in a state of severe psychological distress and never recovered mentally. By 1899, Dudleytown was completely deserted. Buildings were left to decay. The forest reclaimed the land quickly. Today, only stone foundations remain, barely visible through undergrowth. The land is now part of the Dark Entry Forest Association, a private land trust. The property owners have dealt with trespassers, vandals, and paranormal investigators for decades. Their response: strict enforcement of no trespassing laws, surveillance, and prosecution. Despite the legal barriers, people have entered Dudleytown and reported consistent experiences. Complete absence of bird calls and animal sounds, sudden equipment failure, cameras, phones, flashlights malfunctioning simultaneously, severe disorientation even on marked trails, overwhelming sense of being watched, nausea and dizziness without medical cause. One documented case from 2015 involved a group of 4 hikers who entered the area during daylight. All 4 reported their phones dying despite full charges. All 4 became separated despite staying on a clear trail. All 4 described the same sensation, that the forest was aware of them. The property owner's position is clear: stay out. This is private land. The forest doesn't want you here. Picture this. You're standing at the edge of Dark Entry Forest. The trail looks clear and it's 2 p.m. But under the canopy, it feels like dusk. Your phone shows full battery and full signal. You take 10 steps in. Your phone dies. You hear nothing. Not wind, not birds, not your own footsteps. And you realize the silence isn't absence, it's presence. Number 6, Whittier, Alaska. All 4 walls, all the time. Imagine your entire town: city hall, school, post office, grocery store, church, and every single neighbor existing inside one 14-story building. Welcome to Whittier, Alaska, where 90% of the population lives under one roof and the only road out closes at night. The Begich Towers was built in 1956 by the U.S. Army as part of a Cold War military installation. The structure was designed to house an entire military operation in one secure, weather-resistant building. When the military left in 1960, civilians moved in. Today, this single building contains 196 apartment units, the town post office, a grocery store, a health clinic, city offices, a church, a conference room that serves as city hall, a school connected by underground tunnel, a laundry facility, and a small hotel for visitors. Current population of Whittier, approximately 272 people. Residents living in Begich Towers, approximately 245. Whittier sits on the western edge of Prince William Sound, surrounded by mountains on 3 sides and ocean on the 4th. It's one of the wettest places in the United States, receiving over 250 inches of precipitation annually. The town is accessible only by the Anton Anderson Memorial Tunnel, a 2.5-mile single-lane tunnel through the mountain. It's the longest highway tunnel in North America. It operates on a schedule, alternating direction every 30 minutes. It closes completely from 10:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. If you miss the last tunnel opening, you're spending the night. Average winter temperature 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Average annual snowfall 250 plus inches. Record wind gust 115 miles per hour. Days of sunshine per year approximately 60. Winter in Whittier means darkness by 3 p.m. and temperatures that make going outside a calculated risk. Resident June Miller, who has lived in Begich Towers for 15 years, describes it: "I can go weeks without stepping outside. I walk down the hall to work at the city office. My groceries are delivered to the building. My kids go to school through the tunnel. In winter, going outside isn't pleasant. It's dangerous." The social dynamics are unique. In most towns, you can avoid people you don't like. In Whittier, you see them in the hallway, in the elevator, at the store, and at city meetings. There is no escape from community. Whittier Community School serves pre-K through 12th grade. Current enrollment approximately 30 students. The entire school operates with fewer than 10 teachers and staff. The school is connected to baggage towers by an underground tunnel, meaning students never have to go outside, even in negative 20-degree blizzards. Residents list several benefits: no commute, childcare is community-based, utility costs are shared, package delivery is simple, emergency services respond instantly, no one is ever truly alone. The disadvantage is zero privacy. Social conflicts are inescapable. Claustrophobia is common initially. The tunnel schedule controls your life. Long, dark winters affect mental health. Feeling trapped is not paranoia, it's geography. Picture this. It's February. It's 4 p.m. But it's been dark for an hour. You're tired of your apartment. So you decide to go for a walk. You ride the elevator down. You walk through the lobby. You push open the exterior door. Wind hits you like a physical blow at negative 10 degrees. Snow is falling horizontally. You can't see more than 20 feet. You're already cold. You go back inside. This is your world for the next 4 months. Number 5, Nome, Alaska, the town where people vanish. Between 1960 and 2004, at least 24 people disappeared from Nome, Alaska, without a trace. No bodies, no evidence, no explanation. This is not folklore. These are documented missing persons cases that remain unsolved. Nome sits on the southern edge of the Seward Peninsula, facing the Bering Sea. It's one of Alaska's most isolated communities, accessible only by air or sea. No roads connect Nome to the rest of Alaska. Population approximately 3,600. Distance to nearest city 540 miles. Average winter temperature negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit before wind chill. Annual darkness in winter 18 plus hours per day. Nome exists at the edge of habitability. The missing persons cases follow disturbing patterns. Many vanished after dark during winter months. Several disappeared after consuming alcohol, leading some to attribute deaths to exposure. But the lack of bodies is unusual. Even in extreme cold, remains are typically found eventually. Several cases involve people who simply never arrived at their destination despite witnesses seeing them leave. They vanished in the space between 2 buildings, sometimes less than 100 yards. In October 1960, 19-year-old Clara John disappeared walking home from a friend's house, a distance of less than half a mile. Her family searched immediately. No tracks, no trace. In November 1976, 22-year-old Robert Inga Jr. left a party at 11 p.m. to walk home. Multiple witnesses saw him leave. He lived 6 blocks away. He never arrived. Despite searches covering a 5-mile radius, nothing was found. In December 2004, 23-year-old Louise Neeser vanished after leaving a bar at closing time. Security footage shows her leaving. She never made it to her apartment, which was 2 blocks away. Theories range from exposure and predation to foul play. Nome's winter environment is deadly. Temperatures with wind chill can drop below negative 50 degrees. Hypothermia kills within an hour. Bodies could be carried away by wind, buried by snow, or scavenged by wildlife. Nome has struggled with violence, particularly against Alaska Native women. The FBI investigated potential serial killer activity but found no conclusive evidence. Many missing persons had been drinking. Alcohol impairs judgment and reduces body temperature regulation. In 2005, the FBI established a task force to investigate the disappearances. Their findings: many cases were inadequately investigated initially. Evidence was often not collected or was lost. Searches were sometimes delayed by days. Some disappearances likely resulted from exposure combined with alcohol. Others showed indications of foul play. Several cases remain unexplained by any current theory. These disappearances have profoundly affected Nome. Parents don't let children walk alone after dark. People establish check-in systems. The sense of safety has been permanently altered. Nome continues to function, but the disappearances cast a shadow. Every winter brings renewed anxiety. In January 2019, 21-year-old Florence Picher disappeared after leaving a friend's home. Extensive searches found nothing. The case remains open. Missing persons rate in Nome approximately 6 to 7 times the national average. Percentage of cases resolved approximately 40%. Bodies recovered less than 25% of missing persons cases. Picture this. It's January in Nome. It's 9 p.m. and it's been dark since 3 p.m. You're leaving a friend's house. It's 3 blocks to your apartment. The wind is brutal. -20 degrees before wind chill. You start walking. 2 blocks. You can see your building. 1 more block. And then what no one knows. Because 24 people have made journeys like this and disappeared into the space between here and there. Number 4. Cairo, Illinois, the city that erased itself. Cairo, Illinois should have been a major American city. Its location, where the Mississippi and Ohio rivers meet, is one of the most strategic points in North America. Instead, it's a monument to what happens when a community destroys itself from within. Cairo was founded in 1837. Its location made it invaluable. Mark Twain described it as the ideal location for a great city. By 1920, Cairo's population reached 15,000. The city had multiple railroad lines converging, river traffic from north, south, and east, manufacturing plants, grand Victorian mansions, opera houses, multiple schools and churches, and a thriving downtown business district. Cairo was called Little Chicago and seemed destined for prosperity. The collapse came from multiple factors. Cairo's location in southern Illinois meant it existed at the cultural boundary between North and South. Racial tensions were extreme. Lynchings occurred. Segregation was brutally enforced. In 1967, racial violence erupted after a young black soldier, Robert Hunt, was found dead in police custody. The city divided along racial lines. White residents formed armed patrols. Black residents organized boycotts. The black community boycotted white-owned businesses. The boycott lasted years. Businesses closed. Rather than negotiate, many white business owners simply left Cairo permanently. As businesses closed and services declined, white residents moved to nearby communities. Population dropped precipitously. The city government stopped maintaining infrastructure. Streets deteriorated. Water systems failed. Public housing was neglected. The numbers tell the story. 1920 population 15,000. 1960 population 9,000. 1980 population 4,500. 2000 population 3,600. 2020 population 1,733 in a 100-year undin. Cairo lost 88% of its population. Median household income $22,000, less than half the national average. Poverty rate 43%, unemployment rate 18%. Median home value $33,000. Multiple homes are listed under $10,000. Downtown Cairo is surreal. Entire blocks of Victorian buildings stand empty. Windows are boarded. Roofs have collapsed. It looks like a city after evacuation, except people still live here. The Gem Theater, once a grand venue, is a crumbling shell. The Custom House, a beautiful federal building from the 1870s, sits empty. Public housing projects have been demolished. The city can't afford to maintain them. Vacant lots mark where buildings once stood. For residents who remain, Cairo represents home, family history, and stubborn persistence. Tam Scott, a lifelong Cairo resident, explained in a 2018 interview, "This is my home. My grandfather worked on the riverboats. My grandmother raised 9 children here. I'm not leaving because other people gave up. Someone has to stay. Someone has to remember what this place was. But the younger generation is leaving." Cairo's school enrollment has dropped so dramatically that consolidation with neighboring districts is being discussed. Cairo faces an impossible situation. Without population, and there's no tax base. Without tax base, there's no money for infrastructure. Without infrastructure, no one wants to move there. The cycle perpetuates itself. Cairo's collapse wasn't natural disaster or economic inevitability. It was choice. When faced with the necessity of integration and equality, significant portions of the community chose to leave rather than adapt. They took their businesses, their tax revenue, and their futures elsewhere. Picture this. You're standing on Commercial Avenue, Cairo's main street. It's noon on a weekday. You see one car in 10 minutes. To your left, a beautiful 3-story brick building with ornate cornices stands empty. To your right, another and another. You walk 3 blocks and see no people. You pass a bank, a department store, a hotel, all empty. And you realize this isn't post-apocalyptic. This is post-choice. Number 3, Helltown, Ohio. The evacuation that no one can explain. In 1974, the United States government evacuated an entire section of Boston Township. Ohio, they purchased every home, relocated every resident, barricaded the roads, and posted no trespassing signs, the official reason expanding Cuyahoga Valley National Park. But here's the problem: they never expanded the park. The building sat empty for decades, and the government never explained why. In the 1960s and 70s, the federal government moved to establish Cuyahoga Valley National Recreation Area, now a national park. This required purchasing land and relocating residents. Stanford Hostel Road area, which locals called Helltown, was targeted for acquisition. Between 1974 and 1975, the government bought properties and relocated residents. End of story, according to official records. But several facts don't fit the narrative. Unlike other national park expansions, the government didn't demolish structures. Houses, a church, a school, all left intact. The land wasn't converted to parkland. No trails, no facilities, just empty buildings and blocked roads. Residents report being given very short notice, sometimes weeks, to vacate. This was unusual for national park acquisitions, which typically involved longer timelines. After evacuation, police patrolled regularly and aggressively pursued trespassers. This level of security was extreme for a simple land acquisition. The theories vary wildly. Some residents claim a chemical spill occurred in the area, possibly related to nearby industrial facilities. The government's silence would make sense if they were avoiding liability or public panic. Unsubstantiated rumors of satanic cult activity in the area circulated, though no evidence supports this beyond local folklore. Some theorize Helltown was a testing site that went wrong, requiring evacuation. The simplest explanation may be the most boring: the government purchased land for park expansion. Then funding or plans changed, leaving the area in limbo. What we know for certain: government records confirm property purchases between 1974 and 1976. Records show payments to residents for relocation. Park Service documents mention the area but provide no detailed plans for development. No environmental reports indicating contamination are publicly available. No classified government documents about the area have been declassified. Most buildings were demolished in the early 2000s. What remains a few foundations, the cemetery which was never moved. Overgrown roads, the Mother of Sorrows Church stood empty until 2016. The church became a focal point of urban legends. It was eventually demolished due to structural decay and repeated trespassing. The land is now officially part of Cuyahoga Valley National Park. Trails have been established. The area is accessible to hikers. Park rangers patrol regularly. But the original question remains unanswered. Why the urgent evacuation? Why leave buildings empty for 30 years? Why the secrecy? Eleanor Casper, who was forced to sell her family's home in 1974, gave an interview in 2010. They gave us 6 weeks. 6 weeks to pack up a house my family had owned since 1902. They wouldn't explain why, just said it was for the park. But I drove by years later and my house was still standing, empty, rotting. If it was for the park, why not tear it down? Why leave it like a ghost? Something else happened. They just won't tell us what. Picture this. You're driving down Stanford Road at dusk. The road suddenly ends, a barricade, no trespassing sign. You park and walk past the barrier. Within 100 yards, you see a house. Curtains still in the windows, door hanging open. You walk closer. Inside, there's a kitchen. The counters are bare. The wallpaper is peeling. This was someone's home. They ate breakfast here. They celebrated Christmas here. And one day in 1974, someone from the government knocked on the door and said, "You have to leave now." They never came back, and no one ever explained why. Number 2, Monowi, Nebraska, the town with one soul. Monowi. Nebraska is the only incorporated town in the United States with a population of 1. That one person is Elsie Eiler. She is the mayor, the town clerk, the bartender, the librarian, and the only taxpayer. She pays taxes to herself. She issues her own liquor license. She holds city council meetings alone. This is not a metaphor. This is Nebraska. Monowi was founded in 1902. At its peak in the 1930s, and the population reached about 150 residents. It had a school, a church, multiple businesses, and a post office. But like many rural towns, Monowi declined as farming became mechanized and young people moved to cities for work. By 1970, the population was under 50. By 2000, it was down to just 2 people, Elsie and her husband, Rudy. In 2004, Rudy died. Elsie became the only resident. Nebraska law requires towns to hold elections and maintain a government. Technically, Elsie couldn't continue as mayor without an election. But since she's the only voter, the election result is predictable. Every year, Elsie files for election, casts 1 vote for herself, wins unanimously, and continues as mayor. She grants herself a liquor license for the town tavern, which she operates. She pays property taxes to the town, then, as town treasurer, processes the payment. She maintains town records. She files state paperwork. It's bureaucracy at its most absurd and somehow most pure. Monowi occupies about 0.21 square miles. What exists? Monowi Tavern, Elsie's Bar, open most days, a library with 5,000 books, mostly Rudy's collection, a post office, though mail comes to a rural route number, a few grain bins, Elsie's home, population 1, median age 89. Elsie was born in 1935, unemployment rate 0%, crime rate 0%, no reported crimes ever. Elsie's routine is remarkably normal. She wakes early, she tends to her home. She opens the tavern around mid-morning. Customers come. Yes, actual customers. People from surrounding farms, truckers passing through, and tourists who've heard about America's smallest town. She serves burgers, sandwiches, and beer, She talks with customers. She closes the bar in the evening and goes home. The library is open by appointment. Visitors can browse Rudy's collection, which focuses on local history, farming, and Nebraska. Monowi has become a minor tourist attraction. People drive from Omaha, over 100 miles, to visit. International tourists have stopped by. Film crews have documented Elsie's story. A visitor from 2022 wrote online, "I drove out to Monowi expecting a gimmick. What I found was a woman living her life with quiet dignity. She's not playing a role. She's not trying to be quirky. She's just Elsie. She runs a bar. She talks about her husband. She serves a damn good burger." I left feeling like I'd met someone who figured out something most of us miss. People always ask Elsie, "Aren't you lonely?" Her response in a 2019 interview, "I'm alone. That's not the same as lonely. I have customers. I have the librarium. I have memories. My husband and I built this life. Just because he's gone doesn't mean the life ended. I'm finishing what we started." Another common question: what happens when you're gone, Elsie? Monowi will cease to exist. The state will dissolve the incorporation. The land will return to what it was. Farm country, and that's okay. Towns aren't permanent. Nothing is. We existed. That's enough. Monowi represents something beyond its statistics. It's evidence that community isn't measured by population. Elsie maintains civic structures for a population of 1 because those structures matter. She follows the law because law creates order. She operates a tavern because gathering places matter, even if the gathering is sometimes just one person behind a bar waiting for someone else to arrive. Picture this: you're driving across Nebraska, cornfields for 50 miles. Then you see a sign, Monowi. Pop. 1. You turn onto a gravel road. Within a minute, you see buildings. You park. You walk into a tavern. A woman in her late 80s smiles and says, "What can I get you?" You order a beer. She pours it. You look around. You're the only customer. She's the only bartender, the only resident, the only everything. And you realize this is what perseverance looks like. Not dramatic, not tragic. Just a woman who decided staying mattered more than leaving. Number 1, Fallsville, Ohio. When dreams dry up. Fallsville is a town that was abandoned before it even got a chance to fail. This place ghosted itself before the 20th century could. Unlike most ghost towns where people lived before they left, Fallsville barely ever happened. Settled in the early 1800s, it was hyped up with classic American pioneer optimism. Waterfalls, natural resources, booming dreams of industry. But then nothing. No railroad, no investors, no "we'll make it work" grit. Just people leaving fast. By 1890, it was already a memory. Today, it's a patch of woods near a dried-up creek and some forgotten ruins, plus enough local legends to make your spine tense. There's no real estate market, no homes, no post office. Just a name, some suspicious stone foundations, and a weird vibe. Locals from nearby New Vienna say they avoid the area after dark. It's the kind of place that feels like nature itself is hiding something. A Reddit quote from a hiker. I walked into the Fallsville wildlife area and felt like I wasn't supposed to be there, like the trees were watching. I left in 15 minutes. Population 0. Housing just gravity versus whatever's still standing. Wildlife, yes. Humans, no. GPS barely recognizes it. Fallsville skipped the whole being a town part and went straight to being cursed forest. Ohio has towns that flood, freeze, and fight for economic survival. Fallsville said no and rolled into the bushes like a dramatic theater kid. There's a 20-foot waterfall, which sounds peaceful until you realize it's next to a dried-up river and a trail called Dead Man's Hollow. What makes Fallsville uniquely unsettling isn't what happened there. It's what didn't happen. This was a town that failed at the idea stage. The settlers arrived, looked around, and apparently decided that even frontier hardship wasn't worth staying for. No battles, no disasters, no dramatic exodus, just a collective realization that this place wasn't meant to be inhabited. The foundations you can still find are crude, suggesting the settlement never progressed beyond the most basic structures. No evidence of a church, a school, or a general store. Just a handful of homes started and abandoned. Some historians suggest the water source proved unreliable. Others point to soil quality. But the speed of abandonment suggests something more immediate drove people away. Modern visitors report an oppressive atmosphere in the area. The forest is dense, darker than surrounding woods. Sound seems muffled. Cell phone reception is spotty despite nearby towers having clear line of sight. Compasses reportedly behave erratically, though this hasn't been scientifically verified. The waterfall, which gave the town its name, still flows during wet seasons. It drops into a pool surrounded by moss-covered rocks and dense vegetation. It's beautiful in photographs. In person, visitors describe it as deeply uncomfortable, though most struggle to articulate why. The area is now part of a wildlife preserve. Hikers are allowed, but few venture deep into the former town site. The trails are poorly maintained, markers are faded or missing, and there's an unspoken understanding among locals. Fallsville isn't a place you visit, it's a place you pass through quickly, if at all. What's most disturbing about Fallsville is its complete rejection of human presence. Other ghost towns feel abandoned. Fallsville feels like it was never accepted in the first place. Like the land itself decided humanity wasn't welcome and quietly, efficiently, removed every trace of our attempt to settle there. Picture this. You're hiking a trail where your GPS signal glitches. You spot what looks like a cellar door covered in moss. The air gets colder. You don't see anything, but something definitely sees you. You turn to leave, but suddenly the path behind you feels different. The forest has closed in somehow. The trees seem denser. The trail you walked 5 minutes ago no longer looks quite right. You walk faster. You don't look back. And later, you can't quite explain why you felt such overwhelming need to leave. You just know that place didn't want you there. What these towns tell us. We've traveled from Pennsylvania to Alaska, from fires that burn for centuries to towns of one. We've seen what happens when the ground becomes poison, when entire populations vanish, when communities choose division over survival. These 10 towns aren't anomalies, they're reflections. They show us that prosperity is temporary, that geography can be destiny, that human choices echo across generations. Picher died because no one calculated the cost of progress. Cairo died because people preferred destruction to integration. Centralia still burns as a reminder that some fires never go out, but they also show us resilience. Elsie Eiler runs a town alone rather than abandon it. Whittier's residents chose community over comfort. The few holdouts in Centralia stayed because home isn't just a place, it's meaning. The creepiest thing about these towns isn't ghosts or curses. It's how easily they went from ordinary to extraordinary, from populated to empty, from future to history. Any town can become a ghost town. Any community can collapse. Any map can be rewritten. These 10 places existed. They mattered. They're still there, in one form or another, and waiting in the margins of America's map. The question isn't whether they're creepy. The question is, what do we learn from the places we leave behind? If this video made you think differently about the towns you pass through, Hit subscribe. Drop a comment: which town would you visit and which one would you avoid at all costs? And remember, not every destination is on a postcard. Some are warnings written in empty streets and silent buildings. Thanks for watching.